What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with just a couple of final updates for D2 new stuff this year, as of course things are quietening down a little bit, but today we are going to touch on the remaining content roadmap for this season. Also, Bungie have given us some pretty cool new lore, and it looks like Zavala may have a new assistant. This could potentially link to some end of season content, which will be cool. So we'll talk about that and we'll mention some new quests, the weekly penguin, and a couple of other things in the video. So guys, I hope you enjoy this one as always, and if you do, a rating below really does help us out. But now, let's get into it. Firstly, a couple of updates from Bungie. For PS5 players, they have said they're investigating an issue where players can't view their clan roster in-game and are targeting mid-January for a fix. And it will most likely be mid-January until we get any kind of additional updates to the game in general. Possibly other key things could be fixed then as well. So bear that in mind, but additionally we have heard about a few changes next season. The fact that we're getting 2 new 120 hand cannons, more strike loot and more. But on the front of quality of life stuff, for Gambit players, there have been more complaints over the past few weeks about moat collection and the kind of detection to actually pick them up. And DMG said the team has been looking into this, and we have some slight improvements planned for next season. To set expectations, there will still be times where a teammate ends up snagging a moat instead of you, but the team is definitely working to make this feel a bit better. And so that is stuff that we'll see in Season 13 in February. I'm curious, how many of you guys still play Gambit? I personally had quite a bit of fun with it in Season of the Drifter, getting the title and stuff like that, but I've got to admit, I haven't played it since Beyond Light, so I'm curious to see what you guys think. For me, I wouldn't mind seeing more Gambit content, but I know it does get mixed responses as we saw with Gambit Prime and things like that, so let us know your thoughts below. Now, to speak about the remainder of core content for this season, one of the things we were curious about this week was whether we would see any progression on the kind of part 2 for the Hawkmoon quest, or the content that's going to allow us to farm random roles on the Hawkmoon. And of course, neither of those have happened just yet, so it seems pretty likely at this point that we're going to get that content in the new year. But it's possible that farming for random roles and the additional section of the exotic quest are actually 2 separate things. And when we talk about part 2 of the Hawkmoon quest, players have known for a little while that in addition to the section of the quest that drops Hawkmoon, there is a hidden exotic ship, which of course the crew referred to in dialogue for the quest. And that's going to include a visit to a hidden area in the European Dead Zone, where the crew actually has this ship stashed away. There is a quest with classified steps, it just has 3 steps right here, so it probably will be something like go and speak to the crew, go to the hidden area, which could be a mission area, and then possibly go back to the crew again. But of course the story component is a fairly significant part of these quests. And speaking of story, Bungie have just posted some new lore, definitely worth checking out and I'll link it down below, but essentially, Ikora is meditating, and she ends up speaking with Osiris, who we've mentioned is now chilling near Ikora in the tower without a marker. But essentially between them, they decide, and Ikora manages to encourage Zavala to have Osiris work as his assistant in the Vanguard. And so it looks like Osiris will be taking a new role, once again working with the Vanguard. And again, inside of the post that Bungie put up, there's some really neat Ikora and Osiris dialogue that you can check out. But it possibly does explain this cutscene a little bit more. So from some of the pre-launch B-roll, we got to look at this cinematic section where we see Osiris, Zavala, and 2 Cabal guards are standing together. Obviously, the Cabal are friendly as well. And so at this point in the season, it looks reasonably safe to assume that the cinematic will be relevant to ending Season 12, or indeed bridging into Season 13. But it could be our first look at Osiris actually filling that role as assistant. So let us know what you think down below. Any guesses from you guys about what the Season 13 story could look like? It's possible that we at least have hints inside of this image. Also note the hologram of the pyramid ship on the console, and give us your thoughts below. And now looking again at some of the content that we're going to get later on in this season, we can see how the Crow and Osiris link will be relevant moving towards the end of the season. So spoiler alerts are necessary again, but we will get an additional quest called Ascendant Hunter. This is the one where we're going to hunt the High Celebrant, but from some of the dialogue involved in the quest steps, Crow speaks about how Osiris has assisted him, and finishes by saying, I told Osiris I'd consider exploring somewhere remote, like Venus, but he suggested a different course. I'm coming to the tower. People may judge the man I was, but I refuse to cower. In the shadow of his legacy, I'm a guardian. I need to act like one. Certainly very curious stuff. It is possible, of course, that he's going to be in the tower in the story in the same way that Anna Bray and Rasputin are at the moment, but not actually be vendors that we can go and interact with. However, if the Crow is a friend of Osiris, and Osiris is going to be an assistant to the Vanguard, the story proposition definitely starts to get pretty interesting. And so between the Ascendant Hunter quest, the mission to kill the High Celebrant, and the remainder of the Hawkmoon related stuff, it seems that those bits of content are pretty likely to roll out throughout January, so there should be some cool stuff to look out for there. And as we know, this final season quest will also drop an exotic ship called the Fourth Mark. Certainly a somewhat distinct looking exotic ship right there. Something very briefly that we haven't spoken about on the channel, but players a few weeks ago discovered that encounters in The Last Wish actually play oracle sounds as they start or when you pass certain areas. and these are the same sounds that we heard from oracles in the Vault of Glass. We do know that that raid is returning, but still players are curious as to why we're getting these sounds in the Last Wish. Kind of seems like some sort of a teaser at the moment. Could there be a relationship between the two raids in Year 4, or indeed the Dreaming City? And it does seem quite possible that the curse could have a conclusion, or a true continuation of the story at least, especially by the time that the Witch Queen arrives next fall. And so in between, it does mean there are many mysteries to unfold, and quite possibly these oracles will be one of them. But as always, I'd love to get any thoughts from you guys about that in the comment section. Make a quick shout right here, but Jonesy posted some interesting numbers to Reddit after running more than 350 Legend and Master Lost sectors. So they have some good tips, which I'll link below, but in terms of exotic drop rates, it does give us a decent sample for rarity of the exotics and drops. So based on those numbers split, we can see in the Legend tier, the cumulative exotic chance is around about 24%. But for Master Lost sectors, that chance is around 36%. So just some interesting numbers now that players have had time to actually run a bunch of them. I'll link Jonesy's Reddit thread down below, but I would also shout out once again to keep an eye on the random stat rolls on armor pieces at various vendors. And Magic Mr. Lemon is posting the armor stat rolls up weekly to Reddit. They're not necessarily always super high rolls overall, but they do have some pretty interesting stat distributions. Sometimes you can get stats like 30 recovery, or other stats that could be useful for specific builds you're looking to set up and stuff like that, so definitely something else to bear in mind. Finally though, we do have a new location for a penguin collectible on Europa this week. So this one's in Nexus, which is the area where you head to the Glassway Strike, so you need to be in Asterion Abyss initially. And if you're heading in from Charon's Crossing, you head to the right hand side until you find this network of caves right here. Carry on down until you get to the Nexus area, and I'm going to let the gameplay run out right here, where you can see we need to destroy Vex crystals that are kind of spawning in different areas. So first one's up on the rock formation on the left hand side, super high up, and each time you take one down, you can see another oracle appears. So just follow the directions on screen and you'll see the ones that you need to take out. And once they're all done, you can grab the collectible, then return it to the room near Varric. So that's what we've got to speak about in the video this week, guys. I will be sure to keep you posted with any major updates throughout the week. Of course, we're still going to have resets and all those kind of things, so stay tuned here on the channel. But otherwise, whatever you're getting up to, I hope you can enjoy some downtime over the holiday season and the next couple of weeks. As always, though, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Stay safe, and I hope you have an awesome day.